and welcome to Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM. I'm Brendan Lang along with Mikey K, Mike Karafilidis. Again, Saga 960 or wherever you get your favorite podcast. Why is there an echo? Do you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. I feel like I can hear my voice in the background.
I don't know.
Test 1 2. You can't hear an echo?
It sounds the same to me all the time. I can't really tell.
Interesting. Hold on 1 second. Let me try something here. Talk for a second.
Hello. Yeah.
Testing 1 2. Test 1 2.
Okay.
You hear me fine?
Yeah, perfect. Rajan.
Okay.
All right.
Hello and welcome to Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM. I'm Brendan Lang along with Mikey K, Mike Karafilidis, two broadcasters for the Brampton Steelheads. Thank you for being here on Saga 960 AM or wherever you're listening or watching us, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Today we have a good guest lined up here. We'll have Jack Van Volsen on the show in a moment. We have lots to talk about with the 3-3 this past weekend, also with 3-3 coming up this weekend coming up. So lots of Steelheads hockey to look at, to review, to look forward to. But before we get to that, Mikey, how was your week? How are you doing? How have all the things been?
Good. Everything's good. Just wheeling through. Every day's like I said, like Groundhog Day. You wake up. I keep saying this pretty much every episode. Do the same thing all the time, and lots of hockey on the weekend and stuff like that. So yeah, we just stepped in the right direction. My son, he's going to be skating for the first time finally. So we're looking forward to that, and that starts in January. So
Nice.
yeah, we had to get a cage for him and all that. So he's excited. So yeah, should be good. And yeah, that's about it pretty much.
Cool. Good to hear he's getting on the ice.
Yeah, I've been telling him, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, right? But
Yeah.
well, whatever. He's 6 now. He just
Yeah.
turned 6. Better late than never. So he's looking forward to it. So it should be good.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome. Definitely good to get the skating lessons in first, and then
sure. Yeah, if
yeah,
he
yeah,
if
yeah.
he likes it, then yeah, if he likes it, then we're gonna keep him, kind of thing, right? I mean, if it was up to me, well, not force him, but I'd be like all over. I'd be all over him. Okay, no, get out, stay on the ice and stuff. But you can't do that to kids, right? If he likes it, then we'll keep him in it. So yeah.
100%. I'm sure
Hmm.
you're looking forward to it as well.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Oh man, yeah, really looking forward to it. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's been it's been similar as well. Of course, like you said, lots of hockey going on. Of course, we have like I mentioned, the 3-3s. You got your first overnight trip out of the way
Hmm.
on the weekend. How was the bus ride up to North Bay?
Yeah, no, it was all right. I mean, it was a quick turnaround, right? I mean, we left right after the game against Sarnia, and then hit the bus trail there up Highway 11, I think it is, or something like that. So we made it at a good time. Got to the hotel at a good time. Got to the arena at a good time, and honestly, right in the room and right to sleep. 1 hour after that, and stayed up an hour and a half. Maybe watched I think Vancouver and who was playing? Vancouver. I can't remember who was playing on Saturday night. Vancouver and San Jose. That's who's playing. So I watched a little bit of that, and then right to sleep, got up, and then boom, you're right at the arena again at the North Bay Memorial Gardens. So yeah, North Bay Memorial Gardens. Boy, oh boy, those fans are really, really hardcore. Let's just say that. So it was kind of cool though. Hey, for the old Brampton battalion going back to North
Right.
Bay battalion kind of thing. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, it was good. It was okay.
And I guess we can get into that now. Of course, the Steelheads do end up winning that game in overtime. Another
Hmm.
big goal from Adam Zidlicki, who's been playing amazing recently and really all year. I mean, he's been uh, one of the guys. I mean, of course, you talk about the top line that drives a ton of the offense, but outside of that, he's been the guy. And
Yeah.
we know when he's playing that straight line game, he's got so much speed, and that's when he's at his best. And I mean, he's been that way pretty much the entire season. So we'll get to that game, but first we'll talk about the first game against North Bay. That was on Friday night. And the Steelheads, they came out. They came out a little slow, but then they really ended up taking it to the battalion, and it was a big 7-2 win.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, dismantling of the battalion, I guess you could say. But no, yeah, exactly like you said. The first goal, it was what North Bay got the first goal. Then after that, They started off slow. Then North Bay got the first goal. Then after that, it was just like, all of a sudden they just turned into another team, the team that we know and love, right? And they just came out and dominated them after that. So I guess we'll get to all the stats and all that kind of stuff later on. But wow, what a what a game that was, and it was a great game for Troy Patton, of course, scoring his
Mhm.
first OHL goal. Congratulations to him, coming down and beating Charlie LaRock to the glove side. So congratulations to that kid, one of the most humblest kids, a former Barrie Junior Colt that you'll ever meet. So yeah, he's just quiet. You never know. He's hardcore, a fighter too, and all that. And he got in a fight on
Right.
Sunday. We'll get into that after. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he did against his Ryder Carey. I mean, those two probably know each other. Ryder Carey, he played, I believe, for the Oakville Rangers. Off the top of my head, I think it's there. So. Those two probably knew each other, and it was a stage fight. So if it's this stage fight now, in the OHL, it's a rule that they're both kicked out, so you can't do that anymore. So that was staged. I mean, but they both dropped the gloves and they just both went at it, whatever. But it was a good fight. It was a good tussle. I thought Patton got the better of him, but at the end, Ryder Carey got the last shot. But Patton's one tough cookie, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. And you love to see young guys getting into it as well. I know James Richmond is a fan of that, seeing the young players showing that side of their game. You talk about, of course, the big goal from Troy Patton in the game on Friday night. Porter Mart's own 4 points continues to terrorize the OHL. Really is the best way to say it.
Man.
3 goals in that game, a couple hats thrown on the ice. Big night for him, and also the guy we're going to be talking to in a moment, and Jack Van Volsen, 2 goals in that game as well for him.
Yeah, I mean, it was just again, four lines pouring it on the North Bay Battalion. They couldn't really do anything on Jack Ivakovic or inside of the defensive zone. And one guy I want to talk about after we talked to JVV. One guy I want to talk about is Spencer Sova. I mean, he had a nice weekend,
Right.
and we talked about a guy we talked about a guy that needed to take the place of Chaz Sharp from last year, a guy that was going to be that guy. I'm starting to think now Spencer Silva is that guy. I really am. He's starting to play in all situations, on the penalty kill, on the power play, on regular strength, of course. But he's playing in all situations. He's playing so well right now. But I want to get into that more of that
Yeah.
later on. He's playing at another level as well.
Yeah,
Great
for
pickup
sure.
from Erie.
We can definitely do that in the last segment. We can talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about Sova's game. But coming over, you knew about the offensive side of it, and I think everybody knew about that. But I think maybe it just took him a little bit longer to kind of get settled in on the defensive side. But now that he's starting to show more of that, like you said, they need a replacement, and they needed a replacement for Chaz Sharp, and now he is looking like the guy, like you said there. So we have that
Mm.
game, the big 7-2 win against the North Bay Battalion. Then the Sarnia Sting come to town, and it was kind of a reverse of the Friday night game. They got off to a great start, but couldn't really sustain it. Sarnia, I know you talked about it on the broadcast quite a bit, and when you were interviewing some of the Sting players as well, just the hard work that Sarnia plays with it was unmatched in that game.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, Sarnia Sting. You know what? It was they came out hard and they deserved to win that game. They came out to compete right from the opening whistle. Well, Steelheads got off to the lead, and it seemed like maybe they needed a little wake up call kind of thing, right? Well, Steelheads didn't get off to the lead, but they came back to take the lead,
Yeah.
and they did. They played hard. They were finishing their checks. Well coached from Alan Letang. Serzicha had a really good game in goal, and kind of a repeat of last year when they came to Sarnia. Really, if you ask me. And but no, well deserved, and they deserved to win that game. Steelheads, they were competing. The Steelheads stopped competing. So there it is. That's the ball game.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And that's again kind of a reverse of what we've seen a lot of this year with the Steelheads. They lose that game 5-3 at home, once again at the CAA Center. But I think something else we can definitely discuss about that game. You see, Luke Mesa, I think, is a name that we kind of haven't talked about. I know we talked to him last week, and it was great to have him on. But since he's moved up to that top line, I mean, he's been flying. Obviously, anytime you get to play with Rakoff, you get to play with Martone, it's going to help. But he's taken his game to a completely different level.
Yeah, I mean the speed. I asked him. I remember saying to him last week, "Did you get faster or something?" Because ever since he's gone up to the top line, it's just like he's gotten faster. So um, he's playing at another level right now, and it's nice to see him on the top line doing some good things. Now that's really, really good. But now that what's going to happen when Angus MacDonald comes back? That's my question.
Yeah.
So Angus MacDonald was on that top line. So we're looking at another couple weeks probably for Angus before he comes back from his lower body injury, right? So there's going to be some interesting decisions that James Richmond's going to have to make with the lines, what he's going to do with the lines right now. So losing Lucas Carmiris on the weekend as well.
Mm.
Uh, and a hit from Wyatt Kennedy there. So besides that, yeah, Luke Misa and McDonnell, it's going to be interesting to see what James Richmond does. But Luke Misa, yeah, he's playing at another level on that top line, definitely.
Yeah, you're right. It will be interesting because I know when we talked to JR, he was saying there was no thought of any movement before the McNamell injury of moving them around. So I would think it just goes back there. But I mean, I guess if Luke Mises continues to play this way, you never know. I mean, you
Hmm.
might want to stick with it. You mentioned there the Carmiers injury. We should probably talk about that a little bit too.
Hmm.
He goes out in the game on Friday against North Bay. We think at this point it's probably not as bad as originally thought the injury, hoping maybe 2 to 3 weeks when we were talking to James Richmond. That's kind of the timeline again, a lower body injury for him. And that's a big loss because now the depth just gets tested even more.
Yeah, and so uh, it does get tested even more. And one guy that's a couple of guys that are really starting to look good. I feel, and Zidlicky's, he's looked good ever since the season started. But how about Martin Vasulik?
Yeah,
He's looking really good. He looked really good on the weekend. He's been on that line with Jack Van Volsen and Adam Zidlicky. He had 2 assists on the weekend, right? Really nice cross ice pass on Sunday to Jack Van Volsen going hard to the goal, and Van Volsen beats goaltender Nadone, right? And Vasulik, he looks like he's getting more comfortable. James Richmond was talking about maybe the ice was, still used to the
right,
European ice, still getting used to, he's not running into the boards anymore because doesn't think the ice is too big. But you can see it that, I probably watched the game maybe after one more time after I watched it. And you could see how comfortable he's getting. I just kind of kept my mind on my eyes on Vasulik and the way he's transitioning back and forth, he's getting better and better. And that's such a good sign for the Steelheads to have the import pick from Czechia getting better. So now that gives the Steelheads even more depth, right?
right.
Uh, I thought Patton had a good weekend. I thought Witkowski, he played really well on the weekend. He was really, really physical out there. So things are starting to come together a little bit more now. So now the injuries that are out, Zabeski, Carmiris, my goodness, McDonnell, Lescovar. Hey, I mean, this is a good situation to be in.
Right, and even you talk about all the depth and that third line of Witkowski, Sherratt, and Richmond, they were a line last year that got a lot going on the forecheck, had a lot of offensive zone time, and kind of got things going for the top line to get out there and then possibly have some tired defenders on the ice. And they're kind of getting back to that game. I think they kind of lost it a little bit early on in the year, but this past weekend they've shown that they've got right back to what they were doing last year. So that's a massive development again for the depth. And I like that you talk about Vasulik as well. It's going to take a little while to get adjusted. So obviously he's starting to get into that. And then lastly, we'll just quickly go over that game against North Bay, the overtime winner on Sunday. Jacob Gibbons getting the start, first time that he was back in the net since
Looked
Evan
good.
Gilbert returned from suspension. And I was going to say he did. He looked really strong.
Looked really good. He made some really good saves. I mean, he was showing his athleticism, making some good right pad saves, making some good saves in general, and his positioning was really, really, really good. Maybe there was maybe one goal, of course, he'd want to have back, but there's always a goal you want to have back as a goalie, right? But overall, he played really, really well. And they needed that. They needed that on the weekend. Got 4 out of 6 points, and what it was a good game. It was a great game. The Steelers again, they got off to that 3-1 lead against the North Bay Battalion. Then after that, they let the battalion get back into the game. And I thought to myself, I was calling the game, and I thought to myself, oh gosh, to myself, they're running out of gas like this because
Mm,
you're playing 2 games in
sure,
only
yeah.
under 48 hours, right? So, but they didn't. They came together, and I thought Rakoff's goal was an absolute snipe. to tie the game at 4. And before that, Porter Martone, my goodness, in the second period, scoring with .9 seconds left
What a shot.
in the second. That's an NHL shot, man. Curl, drag, shot. Nobody would have stopped that. I don't care who you are, right? And I was just like, and wow, unbelievable, unbelievable. This, and if Porter Martone doesn't go top 3, I'll be surprised. But he's got to keep it up.
Right.
Scouts look at the way you play in the playoffs. You could be 100-point guy and not do well in the playoffs, and the scouts are going to say, "Well, he's not a playoff guy," and you'll drop, right? So, that's the way she goes. Is either she goes or she doesn't go. So,
Right. And I mean, I don't have any doubts that he is a player that will continue to perform into the playoffs. I think that
hmm
he's kind of built for that.
yeah, hmm
Those scenarios. Before we go to break here and we get to our guest on the other side, also talking about, you had mentioned his name earlier, but Spencer Sova, 5 assists in the game, assisting on all 5 goals scored by the Steelheads. What a night for him.
it was unbelievable, and not, especially on that overtime goal. I mean, it was 3-on-3. It was Spencer Soba, Luke Misa, and Adam Zidlicki who started it off. I mean, not even 30 seconds in, right? Uh, Misa with the speed comes down the wing. Soba anticipates it. That shot was on purpose, 100%. He saw
100%.
Zidlicki. He saw Zidlicki coming down the wing. He knew Nadon was gonna kick it out to him and make the save, and he did. It was perfect, and that's how smart of a player Spencer Silva is, and that's why he's an overager that the Steelheads wanted from the Erie Otters. Right? Here's a guy that's been in NHL camps and whatnot. Spencer Silva's really been impressing me lately on the back end. It's just 5 assists. He was in on every goal. And he's played again. I'm going to say it again. Every situation he's out there. So, I mean, 3-on-3 overtime, the power play, the penalty kill. He's starting to be that guy now. So it's good to see.
All right, so we will take a break here, come back on the other side. We will have Brampton Steelheads forward Jack Van Volsen. Again, you're listening to Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM. And welcome back to Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM. I'm Brendan Lang, along with Mikey K, Mike Karafilidis, 2 broadcasters for the Brampton Steelheads. And now joining the show is Brampton Steelheads forward Jack Van Volsen. Jack, thanks for coming on the program. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, it's about time. I'm just kidding.
Thanks for being here. Of course, you guys just finished off your first 3-3 of the year. You only got 2. You got the next one coming up next weekend, or this weekend coming up now. But you pick up 2 wins out of the 3. What are the vibes like around the team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty big for us to get that overtime win there on Sunday. I don't think everyone was happy with the kind of the way Saturday played out. I felt like it just wasn't our best, kind of straight up. It just wasn't our best. So even though it was a 3-3, and we were a bit shorthanded, we really wanted to have a good game Sunday, and yeah, I mean, it was a tough battle against North Bay. Their barn was going, and it was nice to, a little bit of a comeback there, and obviously great for Zids to get in an OT, and definitely lifted the boys up, and got some good momentum, like you said, going into another 3-3 this weekend.
That's good, Jack. I just want to start off when you first got traded to the Mississauga Steelheads at the time, and you played your junior hockey with Porter Martone with the Toronto Junior Canadians. I mean, did you guys call each other after that because you guys got traded both at the same time? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was kind of. I don't know. I don't really know if either of us expected it at the time. Kind of, just being drafted, and then, I think we only played around 30 games for, our teams, and yeah, I think once we kind of found out that was happening, or we got a little bit of a word, and there started to be some rumors out there and whatnot. We definitely started texting a bit, and then we kind of found out that we could end up in the same spot, and obviously it was really cool. Just kind of how it worked out, because obviously, like you said, playing JRC together, and even before that, we grew up playing against each other. Our dads played against each other in the O, so we've always kind of been buddies. So it's definitely cool to end up in the same spot.
And because Mikey asked about, kind of earlier on in your career, this weekend we had Troy Patton score his first OHL goal. Can you remember your first OHL goal, and what was it like, and what kind of were the feelings in that?
Yeah, I do. It was against Hamilton at the time. Well, I guess now Brantford, but it was my second game, so it was pretty cool to get it out of the way pretty early. Um, And yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a lucky play, honestly. I kind of was on a fast break, and then I remember I'm pretty sure it was on a little bit like of a 2-on-1 with Quentin Page, who's still on Peterborough.
Hmm.
I tried to slide it over to him on my backhand. It hit the D skate. The puck kind of came right back to me, and my feet were almost like below the goal line, actually. But I like shot it with my feet below the goal line and like hit the goalie's ear and went top shelf. So you could say
Wow,
a
hey,
little
hey,
bit
hey,
lucky,
that's something to
but
remember, huh?
yeah, I remember it pretty clearly. It was a special one. Maybe a bit of luck involved there, but yeah, I mean, obviously, emotions were high. Obviously, really happy. You're obviously always thinking about your first one and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely one I remember.
Boy, oh boy, coming from an athletic family too. Your father, and I thought I did some digging here, and your Uncle Joe won a Memorial Cup with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So how about that? Like, I mean, obviously, Uncle Joe. How much do you talk to Uncle Joe about his experience, and how much does he carry it on to you? What kind of advice does he have for you? That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, like you said, kind of growing up in a hockey family. Obviously my dad and my uncle leading the way. They like they both ended up. Well, originally my uncle, he played in the Sioux. Won a Memorial Cup. I'm pretty sure as a 16-year-old. So, pretty cool first year for him.
Wow.
And then he actually ended up being the captain there, which is really cool because every time we take the trip to the Sioux, they have the captain's wall.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember my first year when we first did our Sioux trip, he came along with my dad, so that was pretty special just for him to be able to kind of see the rink again. And yeah, I mean they live we my family and their family, they're really tight, so we always spend holidays with them and stuff like that. They're only like a 5-minute drive away, so spend a lot of time with them in the summers. And yeah, he's been a big part of it because even when my dad played, he was a defenseman, but my uncle was a forward, so I can relate to him there a bit. And yeah, he's always coming out to games, and he's really great supporting me. And yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from him.
When you first came on the show, you were talking about the games, and you mentioned the barn in North Bay was rocking. Where's the toughest place to play, do you think, as an opposing player?
Um,
I know where this is going. I think. I don't know. Let's see.
I'd probably I'd say like in terms of like loudness, I guess you could say it's like I would say I'd probably put like North Bay up there just because it's a little bit like it's a tinier rink, the roof's low, and especially just because we've played there in playoffs a couple years. I think my personal experience is just from that.
Hmm.
But I'd say Sudbury's pretty tough just because kind of a bit of an older rink. No, it's yeah, I'd say those two. Some guys say Owen Sound. I kind of like Owen Sound.
Yeah,
It's obviously
interesting.
it's a little bit smaller, but um, I don't know. I think it's fun. Kind of reminds you of playing minor hockey, and the ice is a little bit smaller, so you get to shoot from everywhere. But um,
It's like you're
yeah,
playing in a
it's
junior A rink over there, man. It's
yeah,
like an OJ. It's like an OJ rink, or worse than an OJ rink, right?
yeah,
And you're like everything's like you're right on top, and
yeah,
just like this. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, oh, it sounds so small. Like,
yeah.
when are they gonna get a new arena over there? Probably never. But
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I
Yeah,
like it too. I kind of like it too. But
yeah, but I mean, like
it's so fast. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah.
obviously there's like London, Kitchener, Windsor, like the big rinks, but I wouldn't say those are like hard. Obviously it's loud, but I think that's more just like exciting. Like I look forward to playing in those rinks. Even London, like 9,000 fans, stuff like that. So I would say those games you really get amped up for it and you use that to your advantage.
Yeah, so you've been playing on a line right now with, well, you guys have really been clicking with Martin Vasulik and Adam Zidlicki. We talked about it before you came on right now. And I mean, what's been working for you guys? You guys have been really, really clicking.
Yeah, obviously, past four or so games. I think things have been going really well. Zid's just kind of a flying out there and using his speed to his advantage, and um, it's great to play with someone like that. Kind of, he's just a hound on the forecheck. Always moving his feet, and then he's obviously so skilled. Like when he gets the puck, so. Yeah, I think we played a bit together last year, but I think this year it's been a little bit more consistent. So I think we've built some chemistry. Yeah, and then Martin's been a great new addition. Made a couple sweet passes to me, so
Yeah, he
um,
did.
just all I had to do was bury it, which is nice. And yeah, I think just him coming over, he's a really skilled player. I think he sees the ice pretty well, and when that play's there, he can make it. So yeah, it's been going well, and hopefully we can keep it going.
And you've been filling the net up recently with 4 goals in your last 4 games. You have the 2 goal game, of course, over the weekend as well. We were talking to JR, and he was saying, you've kind of been around it all year, and then they really started to go in again these past 4 games. Has anything changed, or you think just maybe got some better bounces here, or like kind of what's gone into this recent stretch of scoring?
Yeah, like you said, I think there was like a little bit of a slower start. I guess you could say first 8 games or so. But yeah, I think for me, I wasn't really trying to focus on that. I think it was early, so I was just trying to make sure I was doing the right things. Focusing on the little details because I knew eventually it was going to come. I was getting shots.
Hmm.
I was getting some good grade A's. So I think when you're not getting the good grade A's and you're not putting yourself in those situations, I think that's when you kind of got to worry. But I felt confident with my game, and I was just trying to add things throughout my game, focus on the details. Make sure I was good on face-offs, playing more physical, things like that. Because I knew eventually, like shooting and scoring, these things are and making plays. On the offensive side, I feel those are my strengths. So I knew eventually it was going to come. But yeah, it's been nice recently, for it to go my way, and kind of just look to keep that going.
Absolutely. I hate to bring this up, but maybe that's motivation for you. Not being drafted in the last NHL draft. Do you have a chip on your shoulder this year? Playing, is that a goal of yours? Obviously, to get drafted, of course, to go back into the draft. Like, is that one of your goals this year? Obviously, to win, of course, but is that one of your big goals?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, um,
Which I
yeah,
thought
like
you should have been drafting, just to let you know. So we'll
no,
just,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, like you said, I'm obviously gonna use it as motivation. But I'm not gonna dwell on it or anything. I mean, I think that all I can really do is, kind of just focus on this year and, putting my best foot forward and yeah, like you said, go back in as a plus one. Hopefully have a strong year. I think it's gonna help that we have a really strong team. So I think just showcasing myself in the best way. Um, yeah, I mean, there's tons of guys that get drafted plus one, even plus two. I think we saw
Yep.
that last year. So, yeah, it's obviously in the back of my mind, and it's definitely a goal. It's always been a goal for me. But no, I don't think I'm going to stress about it right now. I think the most important thing for me, is just to focus on the present. I don't really think thinking about that stuff really helps me out in the long run. I just think you don't really need to worry about it. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. But yeah, it's obviously a chip on my shoulder. Not getting drafted, but going to a camp at the start of the year, I think was a really good experience for me. And then even
Hmm.
bringing that back, I think it gave me a little taste. And um, yeah, I think just keep doing what I'm doing. And then like I said, just focus on what's happening now, and then the rest will take care of itself.
And I was going to say, like you just mentioned there, of course, you go to Columbus Blue Jackets camp, and you said it was beneficial for you. Like, what do you see there? That you see kind of on the pro side that really helps you when you do come back to play for your team here in Brampton.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was kind of just how fast it is, because that's something that it's something that I wanted to make more consistent in my game, was my pace. Just making sure that my feet are always going. I think there was sometimes last year where I just get caught gliding around a bit too much, and I think it was really a big focus for me over the summer and going into the season. Just to have it more consistent. And I think once I went to Columbus and played those games in Buffalo at the showcase, I think because I really just had to always be moving to be able to keep up with, there's a lot of AHL guys there,
Mhm.
and I was the youngest guy there, right? So, I think just going there, um, and having the sense of how fast it really is. I think when I came back, it was like, okay, this is the pace I got to play at, and not really kind of adjusting back to what the OHL is. And not that it's much slower, but there's definitely a little bit of a difference just because the guys there are, bigger, and they're more experienced and stuff like that. So I think for me, it's just kind of thinking about that, and having that pace in mind, because at the end of the day, like, if you're not playing with pace, then you're not going to keep up with those guys. So I think it was just a really good reminder and really good experience for me coming back for this year.
So you're with Luca Del Belbaluz down there. How much did Luca help you in Columbus camp?
Yeah, he was great. I kind of, even though I never played with him, he kind of, it was like when I got traded, he got traded out.
Right.
But he's like, every year when he like comes back, he does a couple of training camp skates. So I've done a couple skates with him in the summer. Yeah, he was
Hmm.
great. He was someone I could, lean on, even because when I got there, I didn't really know many of the guys, but he was one guy that I was pretty familiar with. So even just like going to dinner and stuff, just texting him, like making sure it's like the right dress code, because he's been there. He's
Right.
been at a couple of the camps with them. So, yeah, it was really nice to have someone I could lean on there for sure.
And talking about your game, one of your biggest strengths so far this year has been in the face-off circle, and you've been the best on the team in taking draws. Is that something that you've always kind of had a knack for? Or what kind of work goes into perfecting that craft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I've been predominantly center my entire life. So it's something that I'm very comfortable with. Um, and I think it was something, as I grew older, and matured a bit more, I think it was something that I realized was like really important, because not only like, yeah, like the team, obviously it's huge, especially in the O zone, D zone, like special teams even more. But I think it's, at the end of the day, it's just another, I think it's just another way to like, just to get on the ice more. I mean, if you can use that to your strengths, and it's, oh, there's a big draw, then we need that on the team. So yeah, it's definitely something that I worked on, and I've done a lot of work on it, especially with like Thorny and stuff, going over like video and just pre-skating the other teams, um, face-off guys. But yeah, I think especially this year I've done a deeper dive into it, especially with my mechanics and stuff like that, and like just how my feet are, even just like getting stuff from watching like the Leaf games and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's paid off. But I think there's been a couple games where I've been pretty hot, so I think just kind of, even it out a bit more and keep it more consistent. And yeah, I mean, it's like I like taking them, so yeah, hopefully keep that going.
Yeah, you're doing great. So, big 3-3 coming up this weekend. Ottawa 67s, Kingston, never easy trips, right? The down east. And then the Bulldogs on Sunday. And you come back, then we come back home, and then it's the Bulldogs on Sunday, whatnot. So you guys have been through it before. The younger players haven't, Cartwright, Patton, whatnot. So how do you teach these guys, how to eat properly on these kind of trips, how to keep loose and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, we're going there to win hockey games, right? So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, like you said, they really haven't been through it. I think they got a little bit of a taste of it this weekend.
I
Kind of
think
going
I
up.
think Patton was okay, eh? Just a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. I thought he did really well for himself. So,
Yes, he did.
but yeah, I think even like Saturday night, like just going up to North Bay after the game, I think they kind of got a sense of how quick the turnaround is, waking up Sunday morning, kind of 2 o'clock game right away. So it kind of almost felt like two games in under like 2 days almost, like just
Yeah.
because it was a 4 o'clock game, then a 2 o'clock game, right? So. Yeah, I mean, I think those guys know, like they know, just stay hydrated, keep eating well. We do a lot of like team meals and stuff like that. So, Yeah, I think the most important thing is just about taking care of your body, not staying up too late. Just how important sleep is, stuff like that. But yeah, I think they've gotten a pretty good idea. How to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, it is important, and we got to be ready, especially for 3-3s.
All right, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll let you run here again. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Yeah, thanks,
JVB.
guys.
All right. See
Thanks,
you soon.
guys.
All right. See you later.
All right, that was Brampton Steelheads forward Jack Van Volsen, and we'll be back here on the other side to wrap things up here on Saga 960 AM. And welcome back to Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM. I'm Brendan Lang, along with Mikey K, Mike Karafilidis, two broadcasters for the Brampton Steelheads. Thank you for coming along on Saga 960 or wherever you're listening or watching us here on Trout Talk. Jack Van Volsen just on the show, and every time we talk to him, and we had him on the show last year, you interviewed him on Saturday, against the Sarnia Sting, and then we just talked to him there in the last segment. And every time that you talk to him, you can tell that the knowledge of the game is extremely, extremely high, and the hockey sense is probably one of, if not his best assets.
I'm just going to say hockey IQ.
Yeah,
that's it right there. His hockey IQ is off the charts, and the way he carries himself on and off of the ice, that's another pro. He's an absolute pro, and there's so many pros right now, on the Steelheads roster. But Jack, yeah, he's got a good future ahead of him. His hockey IQ is great. He's getting better, better and better each game, it seems like to me. So look for him this year if he keeps going. He's going to be drafted to the NHL, and he's going to do some big things for the Steelheads this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely see it. I think he's 1 point off a point per game to start the year. I mean, playing early on the third line, now getting up onto the second line. I mentioned it during the interview as well. Scoring, he's got 4 goals in his last 4 games. He scored 2 in the game against Sarnia. So, excuse me, against North Bay. So, I mean, he's just he's really kind of coming into his own. And again, he's going to be relied upon here a lot with McDonnell and Carmiris down through the forwards and up the middle in Carmiris. So it's going to be important for him to keep things going. And he's looked really good here recently.
Yeah, I'm gonna need the injuries to come back though too. I mean,
sure.
these are key. These are really key injuries right now, and the way they're playing without the injuries is actually with the injuries actually it's pretty impressive. So, but I'm pretty sure Zabesky is going to be okay for this weekend. Leskovar,
we think
maybe should be okay. McDonnell and Carmier is probably looking at another 2 to 3 weeks, whatnot. So yeah, and Dragusica, we don't know the timeline on the Dragusica as well. So, but still, 2 key guys that they're going to need for this road trip and end on Sunday. The game that will be coming up right after Trout Talk against the Brantford Bulldogs, and Brantford, they've got a lot of good players coming back. So that weren't there the first game when the Steelers played them. So it's gonna be tougher.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tougher. Not to mention that's going to be on the back end of the 3-3 and what as well, and the first 2 games being on the road too, in Ottawa and in Kingston. So first, quickly, we can kind of go over those first 2 games because those will have already happened by the time this airs. So we can just kind of maybe gloss over it a little bit. But that road trip, you had mentioned it for the young players. It's their first time going on the road trip. They had the one to North Bay, but now with 2 games here in the middle of a 3-3, what are you kind of looking for that will tell you the Steelheads are moving in the right direction in those 2 games against Kingston and Ottawa?
Oh, here's the thing about these games, James Richmond's probably gonna split up ice time so they're more fresh for these 3-3s, not to play Rakoff line so much, not kind of thing, to split up the second line with the first line, the third line a lot. So I'm gonna look for that, especially in these tough 3-3s. Now the first game against the Ottawa 67s, we know it's going to be a tough one. They played them last time. It was a shootout win for the Steelheads, 3-2, I believe. And Jacob Gibbons, actually, that was his first win as a Steelhead. Played really well in the shootout as well, whatnot. So, but they're going to have to come out and get that puck out quickly out of their own zone against this Ottawa 67s team. If they can establish the forecheck, the Steelheads, and keep Ottawa hemmed in their own zone, especially with the Ottawa defenseman, maybe Henry Muse, they got back there, a couple other guys, but really not that much, right? As far as I'm concerned. So they should be okay. As for Saturday against the Kingston Frontenacs, so you got to stop them in the neutral zone. You got to stop their speed. They are a quick team in transition. If you can stop the Kingston Frontenacs in the neutral zone and turn that into chances your way, and especially stay out of the penalty box and keep the power play going as well, because the Steelheads power play has been played really well on Sunday. They were 2 for 3, just to mention. But got to see out of the penalty box, especially against Kingston, especially against Ottawa. Keep Kingston. Don't let them use their speed. Use the neutral zone or stop them at the red line. Ottawa, use the forecheck. Keep them hemmed in their own zone. Chances should come the other way. Steelhead should be okay.
Yeah, and Kingston, I know we obviously have talked quite a bit about Niagara's hot start, but we haven't really talked much about Kingston's hot start. I mean, they're 8-4-4 to start the year. They're 2 points out of first place right now, sitting with 20. I think they're actually tied for second place in the Eastern Conference. No, one ahead of the Oshawa Generals right now. So, I mean, this is a team that, again, it's a team that maybe didn't have a ton of high expectations coming into the year, but like you said, they've got so much speed and they've gotten out to such a great start. So that's going to be a big game. The second game of the road trip, of course, a tough one as well. So that will be a good one. And then we have the Sunday matchup, which is going to be coming up right after the show here on Saga 960 AM. That's going to be at the CAA Center, a Sunday home game. We don't see as many of those in recent years. We get the Saturday games, but Sunday at home, 2:00, coming up right after Trout Talk. Going to see former Steelhead Ryerson Leanders in the building. We already saw him, and you mentioned too some key players back in the lineup for Brantford.
Yeah, Nick Lardis is back. Nick Lardis, we didn't see him in game 1. They just got Juracek.
Right.
Adam Juracek, first-round pick of the St. Louis Blues. He just got sent to the Brantford Bulldogs. He's huge. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
So there's 2 key guys right there. I mean, they got Patrick Thomas out there. They got a good team. They got a good young team over there as well. But they are missing still I almost said Arbor Jack Guy, Florian Jack Guy, and I think that's hurting them. I really do. I really think that's hurting them. They're kind of an up and down team. Yeah, Ryerson Leanders is back as well. I think. I know the first game the Steelheads just pummeled him with shots, and then Ryerson was pretty upset. So because his defense wasn't doing so well, but I think Juracek helps their defense, the Bulldogs, but they still have a lot of holes back there. I know they got Lucas Moore. He's probably, to me, their next best defenseman, if you ask me. Noah Roberts, he's kind of up and down. You don't know really what you're going to get from him. Besides those 2, I don't know. I really don't see anybody else on that defense, Brendan. I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 guys that you mentioned are obviously the top 3 guys that you're going to be looking at. And I feel like coming into the year, you said that about their defense, that you didn't really see too much there. Now, of course, Juracek is a massive upgrade up there on the top pairing.
Jake O'Brien, too. Forgot about him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right, Jake O'Brien too. So I mean, they do have guys back there, but I think you're right in the sense that if the Steelheads get on the forecheck, which we talked a little bit about the third line getting on that, if they make the defense make quick decisions, I think that's where you're going to see success from the Steelheads in the offensive zone. And again, just trying to create turnovers in the offensive zone, I think is where they can get a lot of their offense from.
Yeah, and they just, it seems like they always rise up to the games against these Brantford Bulldogs as well. Every time they play them, the Steelheads always seem to play well and beat them. So, knock on wood, that'll happen again. And it seems like the 4 lines are rolling against them. So they're going to need 4 lines to roll again. And especially coming off, this will be the last game of the 3-3. They're going to need that. They're just put it all on the line, especially last game of the 3-3, whatnot. So, but it's going to be tough. And, Jamie Key, good, well-coached, great coach for the Brantford Bulldogs. So it's going to be a dogfight as they fish against the dogs, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be big. And definitely looking forward to that one. A name that you'd mentioned earlier that you wanted to get back to was Spencer Sova. So let's talk about him quickly here before we go. We got about 3-4 minutes before we have to wrap things up here on Trout Talk and get to our game against the Brantford Bulldogs. But Spencer Sova, his biggest performance as a Steelhead with the 5 assists on Sunday in North Bay. But other than that, I think the defensive game is really starting to come into its own.
100%. Like, he's getting his stick in the lanes. in the passing lanes. I mean, when North Bay was trying to make the perfect pass, cross seam pass, say on the penalty kill, whose stick was there to stop it? Spencer Silva. He was getting back on 2-on-1s, making them 2-on-2s. I mean, he's making big hits again. He's hitting guys. He's just playing at another level right now. And I have to say it again. If they're looking for a guy, if we're looking for a guy that was going to take over for Chaz Sharp, because Chaz Sharp was that captain back there. Spencer Silva was a captain, of course. Don't forget, for the Erie Otters, now assistant captain for the Steelheads, and there's a reason why. He's starting to be that Chaz Sharp back there. So they're going to need him. They're going to need performances like that from him every night. But this weekend, he really impressed me. 5 assists again on Sunday. But his defensive play which doesn't get noticed enough.
Yeah.
But it was really good on the weekend. His stick was in the lanes. He's taking out the man. He's doing everything fundamentally sound right. So, he's coming into his own.
Yeah, no, he really is. And you talk about the on-ice play, but also off-ice too, the intangibles that Chaz Sharp brought in, and bringing Spencer Silva and being a captain before in Erie definitely brings that aspect to the team as well, which is something that they needed in the loss of Chaz Sharp. So huge on the ice and huge off the ice for Brampton this year.
Yeah, he's the guy off the ice too. I mean, he's a quiet leader. I mean, he always says, if I have to say something, I'll say it, but otherwise, I kind of lead by example kind of thing, right? But he fits in perfectly with this team. And from the team last year, we saw how tight knit they are. They're still tight knit. And again, I keep saying that. We know it's cliche. A lot of teams say that. This team really is. And Spencer Silva fits in perfectly with this team. So we'll see where it goes. He's just getting better. Never mind, we'll see where it goes. He's getting better. That's it.
Yeah, no, he is. He continues to get better every game, and of course, we're going to see another 3-3. So that'll be interesting to see how they do. Before we get to our last segment here, if you do have any life tips, we can get to that in a moment. Before we do, though, I just want to say congratulations to Manny Amato for getting into his first OHL game as well.
Right,
Steelhead. So that was pretty cool that he gets up there. Of course, a lot of injuries. You don't want to see that, but when those injuries happen, somebody else gets an opportunity. So that was good for him to get in there.
Yeah, he did good. He did well. He did well on got a couple shifts in there I saw on Sunday there. And he did well. He shot the puck in. He didn't play that much, whatnot, but he did everything he had to do. He didn't do anything more that he had to do, but he played well, and good for him. And he's going to get more opportunities. So guy played for the London Junior Knights. He was the OJHL Player of the Week the week before, I believe. So, and then here he is in the OHL. So congratulations to him for that. And he's just going to get better. Another player that I liked in the preseason. So we'll see.
Another player too, who was a late round selection that ends up getting signed by James Richmond after training camp. We saw that even going back with Charlie Callahan, who was a late round guy who gets ended up being signed. So, of course, the hard work paying off from a training camp. So congratulations to him, and of course, congratulations to Troy Patton for his first OHL goal as well.
Yeah, all he needed was an assist. He had the Gordie Howe.
Yeah, and his first fight. That's right. Yeah, so good weekend for him. All right, do you have anything for us to finish things off, Mikey?
Get some sleep. All right, folks. If you need sleep, get it. That's all I have to say.
Good one. Love it. All right, get some sleep. Don't go to sleep now, though, because we do have the Steelheads coming up next.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be the Brantford Bulldogs against the Brampton Steelheads coming up right after us here on Trout Talk. So enjoy the game. I'm Brendan Lang. That's Mikey K. Mike Karafilidis. Thank you so much for coming along on Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM, and enjoy the Steelheads and Bulldogs coming up next.